Michael Popak, Legal AF. I go away for a day and all this happens. Let me catch you up on what's going on with Donald Trump, his sentencing in New York, and his attempt to remove the case to federal court and get the Second Circuit Court of Appeals involved. I'm going to mesh the two things together. The Second Circuit Court of Appeals just made a decision about which panel of the three-judge panel is going to make a decision ultimately about whether Donald Trump's case stays or goes from state or federal court. Going to talk about that in a minute. There is still a motion for administrative or other stay of Judge Hellerstein's decision to not allow the case to be removed, to keep the case in state court. At the same time, the other wheel of justice that's spinning is you've got the state court judge responsible for the sentencing of Donald Trump and to enter the judgment against Donald Trump since he was convicted of his 34-count felony convictions by a 12-0 vote of a jury in state court in New York. You got the state court judge saying, you know what, for right now, with everything that's going on and the election so near and the immunity decision that I still have to render, I'm going to take the pressure off everybody. I'm not going to sentence until after the election. Now, I'll do a separate hot take on that. We'll pick it up with Legal AF on Saturday. I had thought that he would at least sentence, let the American people know what the results are before they go to the polls, and then stay the sentence, stop the sentence from going forward, not have Donald Trump report for incarceration, in other words, and then allow him to take the appeal. But nope. Judge Merchan, I don't know if it's because he's been so abused by Donald Trump for the last year and a half, but has decided that the discretion is the better part of valor and that he's going to stay it. That doesn't mean the issues related to stay and removal, which sound similar but are different in federal court, are over. They're not. So let me dive into the federal side. I'll touch on the state side, and I promise I will wrap it all together before this hot take is over. Okay. Let's start with where we are in why we're in federal court and where we are in federal court. Donald Trump has been trying to hijack the case, take it away from the state court judge, for the last 2 years. And in his last ditch effort to avoid sentencing and to try to get, like a lateral pass and take it out of state court over to federal court, so that he has a direct shot to the United States Supreme Court on the federal side. For those that are following at home, we've got two systems of justice in this country, and sometimes they overlap. One's our state court system, one's our federal court system. Both have criminal cases, both have civil cases. It just depends on if you have an ability, a ticket to get into which courtroom, which courthouse. Donald Trump has been prosecuted for state crime by a state prosecutor in state court. That's what happens 99% of the time. In rare occasions, you may have the grounds to take your case before you've been convicted over to federal court. Donald Trump tried that. It failed. His appeal was dismissed by him over a year ago. His major argument is, I was a federal officer. I was employee badge number 1 for the federal government as the president of the United States at the time. And everything I did related to Stormy Daniels and the hush money, bribery, election interference, cover up through, Michael Cohen, trying not to talk in shorthand here, it was all part of my job description. It was all part of my color of my federal office. And therefore I am entitled to federal officer removal, which is a provision of the statutes that allow for, in unique narrow circumstances, former or current federal officers to take their case over to federal court. Usually that's done before you're arraigned, before you're convicted, and certainly before you're sentenced, but not in Donald Trump's case. So he tried it at the last minute. Judge Hellerstein, the senior judge assigned to the matter for the Southern District of New York, sitting in Manhattan, was having none of it. We've already reported on the Midas Touch Network. I've done hot takes. We've done midweek editions of Legal AF on this. The Judge Hellerstein took literally one look at the papers and said at first,